The bullet shattered the restaurant window just as Marcus Reed leaned in to sign the merger papers. Glass exploded across the white tablecloth, and the dark-skinned woman sitting across from him, the woman he'd spent 6 months trying to destroy, lunged across the table and tackled him to the floor, her body shielding his as a second shot punched into the wall behind them. "Stay down," Maya Washington hissed, her weight pressing him against the cold marble. Blood trickled from a cut on her cheek, but her eyes were steady, calculating. "Someone wants you dead, billionaire boy. Probably the same someone who hired you to bankrupt my company." Marcus couldn't breathe. Not from her weight, but from the revelation crashing through him. The woman he'd systematically targeted for destruction, because women who looked like her didn't deserve success in his world, had just risked her life to save his. And worse, she knew exactly who he was and what he'd done. Sirens wailed in the distance as Maya rolled off him, her designer suit now torn and bloodied. "We have about 2 minutes before whoever that was realizes they missed. Your choice, Reed, trust me and live, or wait for the second attempt." The most powerful man in Manhattan stared at the woman he'd called diversity hire behind closed doors, the woman whose dark brown skin he'd mocked in text messages to his board, the woman who now held his life in her hands. His empire, his reputation, his very existence hung on the decision he made in the next breath. "Lead the way," he whispered. Maya's apartment was a fortress in Harlem, steel doors, security cameras, and a panic room that would make the Pentagon jealous. She threw him a towel for his bloodied face and kept her distance, watching him with eyes that missed nothing. "Why did you save me?" Marcus finally asked, his voice smaller than it had ever been. "Because I'm not like you," she replied simply. "I don't let people die because of what they look like or where they come from." She pulled out her laptop and turned it toward him. "But that's not the real question. The real question is why someone wants the great Marcus Reed dead the exact day he was about to acquire my tech company." The screen showed an email chain, his private emails, discussing a backdoor deal with Chinese investors that would have made him billions while violating national security. Emails he'd sent from his encrypted server that no one should have been able to access. "How did you?" "I'm the best cybersecurity expert in the country, Marcus. That's why you couldn't beat me fair and square. That's why you resorted to racism and sabotage." Her voice remained calm, but her eyes blazed. "Someone else has these emails now. Someone who'd rather see you dead than testifying." Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. Everything he'd built was about to collapse, and his only ally was the woman he'd sworn to destroy simply because her success offended him. The woman whose dark skin and confident brilliance had triggered every prejudice his father had instilled in him since childhood. "I can help you," Maya said, "but first, you need to understand something. I know exactly who you are, Marcus Reed. I've read every text, every email where you called me that dark girl and worse. I know you tanked my company's stock because you couldn't stand seeing someone who looks like me succeed in your world." Marcus couldn't meet her eyes. Shame, an emotion he'd never allowed himself to feel, burned through him like acid. "Why would you help me?" he whispered. Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression changed. "Because they just found your assistant dead in your penthouse. They're framing you for murder." She looked up, her decision made. "And because I believe people can change when their lives depend on it. Even people like you." For the next 72 hours, they moved like ghosts through the city. Maya's brilliance kept them one step ahead of both the police and the assassins. She hacked security cameras, created false trails, and slowly pieced together the conspiracy, a board member, jealous and greedy, who discovered Marcus's illegal dealings and decided to eliminate him rather than share power. In a safe house in Brooklyn, as rain lashed the windows, Marcus watched Maya work tirelessly to save him despite everything he'd done. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, her mind always 3 steps ahead. In the soft lamplight, her dark brown skin glowed like burnished copper, and for the first time, he saw her, really saw her, not as a threat or an anomaly, but as the extraordinary woman she was. Why did you hate me so much? She asked suddenly, not looking up from her screen. Was it just because of this? She gestured to her skin. The question hung between them like a live wire. Marcus opened his mouth to deny it, to offer some business justification, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, truth spilled out, ugly and raw. My father would only do business with people who looked like him. He said it was about cultural fit, but we both knew what he meant. Marcus's voice cracked. When I saw you, brilliant, unstoppable, and everything he said you couldn't be, it terrified me. If he was wrong about that, what else was he wrong about? What else had I built my life on that was a lie? Maya's fingers stilled on the keyboard. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she turned to face him fully. Your father was wrong, she said quietly. And so were you. But right now, we have bigger problems. She turned her laptop toward him. On the screen was security footage of his board member, Richard Klein, meeting with known contract killers. The timestamp was from that morning. They're closing in, she said. And I've just found something else. The Chinese deal? It wasn't just illegal, it was a setup. Klein orchestrated the whole thing to get you to incriminate yourself. He's been planning this for years. Marcus stared at the evidence of his own blindness, his own arrogance. Everything he'd built was founded on sand, and prejudice. And now it was all washing away. I don't know how to fix this, he admitted, the words foreign on his tongue. Maya's eyes softened, just slightly. That's the first honest thing you've ever said to me. Before she could say more, her security system blared. Red lights flashed across the screens. They found us, she said, grabbing her laptop and a go bag. Back door. Now. They barely escaped as bullets tore through the safe house. Running through rain-slicked alleys, Maya's hand gripping his, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood, complete trust in another person. A person whose existence he would have dismissed just days ago. They ended up in an abandoned subway tunnel, water dripping from the ceiling, the distant rumble of trains their only company. Maya worked feverishly to upload the evidence to secure servers while Marcus kept watch. If we survive this, he said suddenly, I want to make it right. All of it. Maya glanced up, skepticism clear in her eyes. People don't change overnight, Marcus. I'm not asking you to believe me, he replied. I'm asking for the chance to prove it. If we live through this, I'll spend the rest of my life making amends, starting with you. Before she could respond, her laptop pinged. I've got it, she breathed. Full confession from Klein, recorded remotely. He thought he was on a secure line with the assassins. Her smile was fierce and beautiful. We've got him. For one perfect moment, victory seemed certain. Then Maya's expression changed. Horror washed across her face as she stared at something on her screen. What is it? Marcus asked, dread pooling in his stomach. The kill order, she whispered. It's not just for you anymore. She turned the screen toward him. There, in black and white, were two names, Marcus Reed and Maya Washington. He knows I'm helping you, she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. We're both targets now. Marcus looked at this woman, this brilliant, courageous woman who had every reason to hate him but had chosen to save him instead, and made a decision. He would not let her die for his mistakes, for his prejudice, for his blindness. Upload the evidence to the FBI and every major news outlet, he said, a plan forming. Then I'll turn myself in. Draw them out. You can escape while they're focused on me. Maya stared at him, searching his face for deception. That's suicide, Marcus. Maybe, he admitted. But it's the right thing to do. And I've spent too long doing the wrong thing, especially to you. Something shifted in Maya's eyes, not forgiveness, not yet, but recognition. Recognition of the man he could be, rather than the man he had been. "There's another way," she said finally. "But you'll have to trust me completely. Can you do that?" Marcus looked at the woman he'd once despised for nothing more than the color of her skin and felt the last of his father's poison drain from his heart. "Yes," he said simply. "With my life." The plan was audacious, dangerous, and brilliant, just like Maya herself. They would set a trap, using Marcus as bait while Maya orchestrated a sting operation with the few FBI contacts she trusted. The evidence would go public only if they failed, ensuring justice one way or another. As dawn broke over the city, they prepared in a new safe house. Maya handed Marcus a bulletproof vest, her fingers lingering for just a moment longer than necessary. "Why are you really doing this?" he asked quietly. "After everything I did to you?" Maya's dark eyes met his, unflinching. "Because hate is easy, Marcus. Redemption is hard. And I've always preferred a challenge." The sting operation went sideways almost immediately. Klein had more men than they'd anticipated, and the FBI team was compromised. Gunfire erupted across the warehouse district, and Maya and Marcus found themselves cornered, back to back, with dwindling options. "If we don't make it," Marcus said, his breath coming in short gasps, "I need you to know something." Maya reloaded her weapon, her hands steady despite everything. "Save the deathbed confession, Reed. We're not dying today." But Marcus couldn't stop the words that had been building in him since that first bullet shattered the restaurant window. "I was wrong. About everything. About you. And I'm sorry, not because I need your forgiveness to die in peace, but because you deserve to hear it while we're both still breathing." For the briefest moment, Maya's composure cracked. She turned to look at him, and in her eyes, he saw not the hatred he deserved, but something far more dangerous, hope. "Then let's make sure we keep breathing," she said. With a synchronized move they hadn't planned but somehow both knew, they burst from their hiding place, Maya firing with precision while Marcus covered their escape route. They made it to the exit, the sound of pursuit close behind, when Maya suddenly stumbled. Blood bloomed across her side, staining her white shirt crimson. "Maya!" Marcus caught her before she fell, horror washing through him. This brilliant, fierce woman couldn't die because of him, because of his mistakes, his prejudice, his blindness. "Keep going," she gasped, trying to push him away. "The evidence is what matters. Get to the rendezvous point." Instead, Marcus lifted her into his arms. "Not without you," he said, and ran. He got them to the extraction point, a helicopter waiting on a nearby rooftop. As they lifted off, Maya's blood soaking through his clothes, Marcus held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because somehow, in the space of 3 days, she had become exactly that. "Stay with me," he whispered, echoing her words from that first moment in the restaurant. "Please, Maya. Stay with me." Her eyes fluttered open, pain evident in every line of her face. But there was something else there too, a fierce determination that had gotten her through a lifetime of being underestimated and overlooked. "Not getting rid of me that easily, Reed," she murmured, her hand finding his. "We've got work to do." 3 months later, Richard Klein was sentenced to life in prison. The conspiracy was exposed, the assassins captured, and Marcus Reed's company underwent a transformation as radical as its founder. Maya's wound had been serious but not fatal. During her recovery, Marcus visited every day, not with flowers or platitudes, but with plans to rebuild both their companies with new values, new leadership, and new purpose. On the day Maya returned to work, now as co-CEO of their merged companies, Marcus met her at the door of their new headquarters. "Ready to change the world?" he asked, offering his arm. Maya looked at him, this man who had once been her enemy, who had hated her for the color of her skin, who had saved her life and had his own worldview shattered in the process. She saw not just who he had been, but who he was becoming. "One boardroom at a time," she agreed, taking his arm. Their story became legend in business circles: the billionaire who had to nearly die to see past his prejudice, and the brilliant woman who saved him despite every reason not to. Their company became a model for diversity and innovation, their partnership a testament to the power of redemption. And if, after late strategy sessions and early morning meetings, their professional relationship sometimes blurred into something more personal, well, that was their business. "I never thought I could love someone who once hated everything I am," Maya admitted one night, as they stood on the balcony of their new headquarters, the city lights reflecting in her dark eyes. Marcus took her hand, still humbled by the privilege of touching her, of being trusted by her. "And I never thought I could be saved by everything I was taught to fear," he replied. "You didn't just save my life, Maya. You saved my soul." She smiled then, that brilliant, fierce smile that had once intimidated him and now took his breath away for entirely different reasons. "Keep working on it, Reed. Redemption is a lifetime project." "Good thing I'm planning to spend my lifetime with you, then," he said, and kissed her under the stars that had once seemed so fixed and unchangeable, just like his prejudices. Their story wasn't perfect. There were still moments when old biases surfaced, when trust fractured and had to be rebuilt. But each day, each choice, each moment of seeing and being seen brought them closer to the people they were meant to be. Because sometimes the greatest love stories don't begin with love at all. Sometimes they begin with hate, with bullets, with blood and fear and prejudice. But they always end, with the courage to change, to see beyond the color of skin to the content of character, to the brilliance of mind, to the beauty of soul. And if you've stayed with us through this journey of redemption and love, of bullets and boardrooms, of a man who learned to see and a woman who chose to save, then perhaps you too believe in the power of second chances. In the possibility that even the most deeply rooted prejudices can be overcome when we're brave enough to face them. If so, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories of transformation waiting to be told. More journeys from hate to love that might just change your own heart in the process. After all, as Maya and Marcus discovered, sometimes the greatest distance we travel isn't measured in miles, but in the space between who we were taught to be and who we choose to become.